Imagine you're playing soccer or basketball and there's just kids running around with a soccer ball or a basketball, but there's no goal, there's no score, there's no out of bounds, there's no rules. You just basically are just running around playing. And that can sound really fun, but you're not building toward anything meaningful. Imagine playing a board game, but there's no goal.
There's no strategy.
There's no strategy, there's no goal.
I hated board games that didn't have any strategy.
Same,
to that
that's
because
why I love chess.
Literally, same. And puzzles even, like there's strategy is everything.
It's very important.
What is life? Like play is important, yes. And you also need to balance that with meaning. Conscious couples, business partners, and individuals, welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and relationship expertise to help you consistently cultivate the most magnificent relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges. We'll help you have the courage to be your authentic self, communicate effectively, and constructively resolve conflict.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching, speaking, podcasting, and hosting live events with conscious couples all over the world, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast. Today, we have episode 187, the top 10 reasons you and your partner need goals. So the reason I'm giggling is because in the last episode, we tried to articulate this and we realized that we wanted to go deeper.
We want to go deeper. Bunch of goal achievers.
We are obsessed. We're obsessed with goals. So before we jump into this episode, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Next Level Podcast Solutions for producing this show and so many others. Personal growth, mental health, self-improvement, personal development, and honestly, a lot of podcasts about success in health, wealth, and love. So thank you to all of you for producing this show and so many others. Sweetheart, what is your intention for today's episode? Ladies first.
My intention for our community is to get underneath the last episode that we produced and talk more about why it's important for them to have goals, and specifically break this episode and the next one down in a way that finally helps couples who want a better life figure out how the heck to do that.
Oh, okay. Nice. So Emilia and I, the purpose of this podcast, I'm going to reiterate this over and over and over and over again, is to help couples flourish in their intimate relationships. And goals are a key component. Like if you and your partner, imagine two people, a high school relationship. All of us remember a relationship we had in high school. Imagine a relationship where there's no direction, there's no goals, therefore there's very low necessity, there's very low conscientiousness. There's very low structure and discipline. It's two people wandering around aimlessly. So we have a list here on my phone that we created right before hitting record here. And it's the top 10 reasons you and your partner need goals. But I want to open it up with a couple things first. And then we're going to jump into the list. Also, production team, you don't have to cut any of this out. We're going to make 2 episodes out of this so that we don't have to rush because we got a lot to get through here. So this is going to be part 1 and part 2 episode. Piggybacking on the last episode. So the first thing is the point of you are out there watching or listening to this show because you want to be successful in your relationship. One of the ways that you do that is by having goals, both individually and collectively. Mm-hmm. And so Emilia and I are going to try our best to break this down because I think, and I've said this before many times, at the end of every episode I talk about relationship talks coaching. Emilia and I started coaching couples 5 years ago. Probably almost 6 years ago now. Almost 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Every week. And what's the difference between relationship counseling or relationship therapy versus relationship talks coaching? And I always say it's goal-oriented. Mm-hmm. It's future-oriented. So we're not just going to help you flourish together on the day-to-day. We're going to help you build your life together, build your dreams together, build your future and your vision together. And so you can't really do that without goals. So I wanted to open with that. Is there anything you want to say before we jump into the 10?
I am so deeply convicted in how important goals are that not only do I want to make sure that we go through this list, but I will do my very best to communicate also the benefit, because I know that most people are really only motivated into goals out of trying to gain relief from whatever pain and circumstances they're in. And I just want to help any conscious couples that's trying to have a better life, maybe even harness their pain. If it is to build a better life, awesome. But having no goals is just not okay. So trying to really convey that.
Yeah. My first 10 years ago, I started a company called Lazaros LLC. This is long before Emilia and I met, and it was what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know was the tagline. And one of the things that I was so alarmed by, because I was a straight A student in high school, I got my computer engineering degree, I got my master's in business, and I never once took a course on goal setting.
Yeah.
Never once was I taught how to set goals.
It's
unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Like, I don't even know the word to describe the
unfathomable.
Rage. It's unacceptable.
And I coach an AP Calc teacher. Shout out to you, brother, if you're listening. And I actually coached his wife as well. And I was talking to him recently about this. And I asked him, I said, okay, well, what are you graded on? What are your KPIs? KPI is a key performance indicator. It's what are you measuring, whether or not you're succeeding or not at your goals? And I always use the joke, and I said this in the last episode, of what if Michael Phelps' coach was like, yeah, man, just jump in the pool, swim around.
Swim around.
Just swim around. So imagine a relationship where you jump in the pool and just swim around aimlessly. How do you know what stroke to do? How do you know what your times are? There's no benchmarking, measurement, all this stuff. All right, so we're going to get into it. But you didn't learn this in school. And what my AP Calc client said is, honestly, Alan, we're in a really nice school district and no one's teaching goal setting. That's up to the parents.
Oh, my heart breaks.
100%. And so I said to him this.
Unacceptable.
I said, it's unfortunate, but a lot of parents are not teaching that. My parents didn't teach me goal setting. In hindsight, I don't even know if they had goals. They certainly didn't have written goals, and they certainly weren't benchmarking and measuring. Yeah, go ahead.
I said this in one podcast episode Bianca and I were doing at Evolve, where it's like, imagine, like, what were the conversations that you had, you know, sitting down before dinner? Like, what were the conversations? It wasn't likely about, like, where did you fail today and how can we do better tomorrow? How can we get better? And it wasn't like you could, like, in the mornings, you sitting down and journaling with your parents because everyone has something, like, that they're getting after. It's everyone's just waking up and going about their day, just completely drifting on the whims of their emotions. And imagine if you actually had parents who sat down, charted the course, like really did what you and I are talking about, how much different people would actually be, because we deal with mental health every single day. We see people suffering at some of the deepest levels in society. And
you mean at Evolve Ventures?
At Evolve Ventures.
And by the way, plug the podcast. If anyone doesn't know about Evolve Ventures podcast, it's unbelievable.
Thanks, Lovey.
Yeah, you're
Go
welcome.
Listen. But yes, why I share that is because there's so much suffering. There's so much suffering. And that is life. And when you have goals, at least it gives that suffering meaning. Mm-hmm. And so I had shared with Bianca, like, imagine behind the scenes. Just imagine if all of these individuals that we see actually had goals outside of what their suffering is, how much more meaning they would have in their life, as opposed to just kind of drifting around with the suffering, not understanding why that suffering is the case, when in reality, a lot of it ties back to just the, and I'll put this nicely, the drifting around of their parents and of how many people that they were raised with, be it their communities, the school systems, whatever systems they were brought up in. No one had any standards to try to go and achieve something and make a meaningful life. It was just, the bar was so low. So we're dealing in the aftermath of that. And so again, why it's so important to have goals is because it actually gives meaning to your suffering. And one of the biggest things that you have is the control over what that meaning is. A lot of us don't think that we are the authors of our own stories, when in reality, there's far more control that we have over that.
Yeah. I always think of the metaphor of, imagine you're playing soccer or basketball, and there's just kids running around with a soccer ball or a basketball, but there's no goal. There's no score. There's no out of bounds. There's no rules. You just basically are just running around playing. And that can sound really fun, but you're not building toward anything meaningful. Imagine playing a board game, but there's no goal.
There's no strategy.
There's no strategy. There's no goal. So
I hated board games that didn't have any strategy
same,
to that.
That's
because
why I love chess.
Literally, same. And puzzles even, like there's strategy is everything.
It's very important.
What is life? Like play is important, yes, and you also need to balance that with meaning. So we could keep going on this forever.
Yeah,
we
love it. We love it. One last thing before we jump into these 10.
So our call with Alan and Emilia was just incredibly valuable. It was really cool to see that in just one session we were able to go so deep and to cover so many topics, and without going too much into the troubles, without getting depressive or negative or anything like that. And it was just amazing to see that at the end of the call we were able to hop off the call with way more resources and way better equipped to build trust and to resolve our conflicts more effectively in the future than we were to begin with. So we got a lot of value from it, and way more than we were both expecting. Not because we had low expectations, but because they really over-delivered.
Yeah, and it was really just great to be able to chat with someone and just connect with another couple that's really interested in, growth and becoming better people and becoming better partners. So it was just really fun to actually be able to connect with someone that's really invested in each other and the relationship and everything.
Yeah, they felt like really good friends that happened to be very wise.
Exactly.
So thank you guys, really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Out there watching, listening, viewer, myself, Emilia, and you, all, whether you know it or not, have a common goal right now. What's the common goal? Our goal is to communicate effectively. Your goal is hopefully to make your relationship better.
Yeah.
So this moment, if you're watching or listening to this, no matter what country you're in, no matter where you are, no matter how old you are, is a byproduct of our mutual goals, whether they're conscious or not. So all we're asking in this episode is for you to make your goals conscious.
Yeah.
And then you can change them. They will grow, they will evolve, they will change. Okay, so here we go. 10 reasons you and your partner need goals. Number 1, without them, you wander around aimlessly, in case we didn't make that one clear yet. Is there anything you want to go deeper on that?
Let's talk about direction, because one of the things that when you aim around or when you walk around aimlessly, there is no direction that you have. I have had so many conversations with individuals who have no direction on where to go. So they literally wake up in the morning and they don't have anything that they're pointing to.
Yeah.
So when we just spoke about meaning, there's no angle that they're headed out into their day with. And so the drifting around feel comes down to an existential feeling of, I don't know what not to do, and what is the point of all of these actions that I'm taking on the day-to-day, the monotony. So it just becomes you feeling like you're in the go to sleep, wake up, kind of the middle is blurry, and then go to sleep, wake up, the middle is blurry. And when you live in a life that is like that, you are literally living in such a grayscale of a life. The life that you're living is not colorful. You're not actually experiencing the full range of emotions of a human being. You're literally just in such monotony that eventually, no matter what you do, if you don't have any direction, you will end up in a doom spiral. And that is just like so obvious when you actually do get into the research. People who don't have direction end up in a meaningless or a doom loop or some mental health crisis at one point or another. Or unfortunately, like get taken down or take down others unconsciously. So direction really does matter.
There's a book called The Art of Impossible by Stephen Kotler. I interviewed him years ago, and in that book he says the neuroscience shows that not having any goals is bad for you neurobiologically.
Literally.
So the 6 serotonin, dopamine, all the brain chemistry, all the feel-good brain chemicals are not maximized and optimized without goals. Also, quick funny joke before we move forward. We gotta crank.
Okay.
So, quick funny joke before we move forward. People always quote this J.R.R. Tolkien quote from Lord of the Rings. Not all those who wander are lost. Well, my joke is most of them are. I knew you were gonna think that was funny.
And those who are lost are not building their brain, and when you're not building your brain, there's the law of growth or atrophy. If you're not growing, you're dying.
How much of who you've become is a byproduct of goals?
Everything.
All of it. Right?
I cannot trace back to any other moment other than goals.
And so everything you've become is a byproduct of your goals. If you aim high, you'll grow large. If you aim low, you're going to grow small. And so I like that quote of think big but act local. Think global but act local. Like in the day-to-day, you got to build and do the little things, but you got to think big because then you become big, and metaphorically. All right, we're going to keep cranking here. Number 2, without them, you never develop conflict skills. So this one was yours.
This is mine. Okay, so when you actually have goals, it puts you in this pressure cooker. We mentioned it on our last episode about having joint goals together.
Yes.
When you have goals, it pressurizes every single day. So instead of that first person that I was just mentioning, you wake up, you actually have a direction, there's a deadline, there's an urgency to it, there's pep in your step. So when that happens and when you're in the pressure cooker of your goals, of the deadlines, of it, whatever it is, your goals, it will require you to think differently, which requiring you to think differently when you go out and achieve things also forces you to have different type of communication skills. And when you're in that pressure cooker and you and your partner are trying to navigate life together, of course, there's going to be conflict. Here's the thing. People who don't have goals, they usually don't actually have any conflict. It might be like so petty conflict.
Because you're not up against anything.
And that's the reality. There's actually nothing at stake. But when you have goals, you actually have something to lose. And so developing conflict skills is one of the most important benefits, if you will, from my perspective. And what that helps with long term is you literally feel so much confidence going into every single interactions with human beings because you recognize that no matter what the conflict is, you've developed skills around that conflict rupture and resolution and the repair and reconciliation process when it comes to human beings. And you recognize how you can communicate to not necessarily avoid conflict, but how you can address and mitigate conflict so much more effectively. Most people fear conflict like the plague, and so they never actually have conflicts. The downside of that is that you don't develop so many skills and you don't actually have high quality relationships because conflict, it's not that you want an absence of conflict. You want the best conflict skills, and having a great relationship has absolute necessity for you to have conflict and healthy dialogue and discussion. So
the playful way that I describe this one is it's very easy to be nice when you have no goals.
Yeah.
One of the concerns that I had, love, with you and I starting a business together is I know that I have very, very, very high standards for the way in which a business runs and operates. And fortunately, you do too.
I'm so grateful for that.
But in past relationships, it was hard for me to coexist with people who didn't have goals. And if you look at the success rates for companies, it's very low. And the success rates for people in long-term marriages is also getting lower and lower and lower. So I was like, a percentage of a percentage of a percentage, we're really going to be up against it. What I've come to realize now is it's actually made us better, not worse.
That's what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm going to unpack why that is quickly.
Okay.
All right. So Emilia and I are podcasters together, obviously. When we have a goal to communicate effectively and help other couples, it comes back and we help ourselves. How many times have we gotten insights thinking, oh, that would be a great episode, when in reality it's, wait, we need to do that. So we don't just coach couples, we coach ourselves every time because we're sitting there thinking about these things and learning about these things. I can't even tell you how many relationship talks, virtual events we've done where I'm like, right, I got to do that too. Let's double down. All right, just in case you were wondering, this is the top 10 reasons you and your partner need goals.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please check the show notes to connect with us and say hello on social media.
If you and your partner resonated with this episode, please leave us a 5-star review at the link in the show notes and share this with someone you love. Until next time, it's not about you or me, it's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.